This is the talk show that takes a no-holds-barred approach to politics, where truth and integrity are the standard and the Constitution honored. From Renaissance Studios, this is Champion News Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. This is Carol Parisi with our founder Jack Roser, and this lovely Sunday morning. How are you, Jack?
Pretty good for an old goat.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
We've got some great guests here today. We have...
You've got me scared, though, with your takeoff here on fearsome topics.
Oh, I know. Well, it's Halloween tomorrow. And there's nothing more scary and frightful than Illinois pension systems.
You got that. That's worse than the pumpkins that are made up here.
Oh, do some smashing pumpkins. No, we have some real unsustainable systems here in Illinois. And today our special guests are Bill Zettler, and we also have Jeff Tucek. So welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today. You know, Jack, you on the Family Taxpayer have been doing such phenomenal work in peeling back the onion on these things and revealing some of these pensions. And I know, Mr. Zettler, yourself, may I call you Bill?
Absolutely.
You've done diligent research.
He's a whiz. Listen, we at Family Taxpayers Foundation have been on this thing with the pensions and particularly the salaries, and we've been publishing the salaries on our website for about 15 years, maybe more. I've lost track of it. But we took all of that data from the TRS, Teachers Retirement System, because I found out more than 20 years ago that that was the only place where they told the truth about what the salaries were for the administrators and teachers in the K-12 school system. That's a TRS, the Teachers Retirement System, and the only reason they tell the truth there is that their pensions are based on their salaries. And if the salaries were quoted low there, their pensions would be too. So they, in that one place, made the mistake of telling the truth, because for all those years before that, the administrators in the local school districts, I'm not going to call them liars, but they were prevaricators. And they told people salaries that are way low compared to what they really were. But the TRS, we've been publishing it for a great many years. And just a few days ago, I got a call from a reporter at the Herald newspapers and Daily Herald. And they've run a series over recent years. They have delved into the salaries and pensions every now and then. The Tribune much less so, and what's the other newspaper in Chicago? The Sun-Times. They're a very good newspaper. I didn't mean to forget the name. And they've run some pretty good things. But I had a call from the Daily Herald, and they wanted to know something about pensions, because the Tribune had written an article saying, oh, we have a serious problem that's been found out here. And so they suddenly said that, you know, Madigan and the other Democrats were responsible for giving us a big crisis. So what is your Family Taxpayer Group, and what do you have to say, Mr. Roser, about that? What I said to him, where have they been for 15 years? They're just discovering this? You know, the Democrats have Mr. Madigan. He's presided over the biggest debacle. He's made this state into the biggest financial disaster of any of the 50, not 57 like Mr. Obama thinks there are. I got to inject some humor into this tragedy. But yeah. But anyway, we've been had that out there, and Mr. Zettler, Bill Zettler, some years back now, poked his snoot without anybody telling him to into those statistics we had, And he started extrapolating them into the pensions when there was very little data on that. And now you can get all of the salaries and the pensions for the whole K-12 system are on our website, and most of it's been there for 15 years while we've been screaming about the $80 billion debt bill.
Yes.
I think it's.
I mean, I'm talking about how serious this thing is, but the guy that's really delved into the significance of it for quite a long time is Bill Zettler, and there are numerous articles on the Family Taxpayer Foundation and on another organization is the championnews.net, and many of Bill's articles and a few by me, because I was a voice in the wilderness screaming about this till Bill brought a lot of professionalism to, and Bill has an interesting way of showing the significance of a bunch of very dull statistics. And we've got a lot of his articles there on the championnews.net. People ought to go to that and find out really what's going on and the problems that were presented by the Constitution. So I've talked enough here.
Well, it's stunning, and you should, listeners, please go to championnews.net because you will see what some of these retired administrators are making. And Bill Zettler, I know that you have been doing some great work. Is there anything that has been coming up the past couple weeks here that's new information? And I know that there's a bill that the Civic Committee has been proposing, and I know the Great Awakening group actually went and petitioned our lawmakers and constituents. What's going on right now in the past few weeks? Any updates?
The only big thing it's really not a big thing, is that Tom Cross is going to introduce the bill. In fact, I think it's today.
Tom Cross, the Republican head in the legislature in the House.
On Thursday, correct. But it's a simple one to get rid of these big pensions for the union representatives, which has been in the newspaper for the last 2 weeks.
Public sector union or private sector union?
Is that Preckwinkle related to the Preckwinkle that's head of the county board?
I don't think so.
What is that, the
Strange name,
Preckwinkle?
never heard of it otherwise.
Is that the Preckwinkle that were the teachers that got the
That's correct. $108,000 pension for working one day as a teacher. Now, why are we paying someone who's not a public employee? Why is he in a public pension system? He's not a teacher. Why is he in a teacher's pension system?
Right.
That's the kind of corruption, what I call legal corruption, that just abounds in Illinois.
It's
legal what he
if
did.
the legislature passes a motion,
Exactly.
a rule that says that it's legal. You know, and I guess it is legal, so we can't say that these are felons.
Well, then there's the union bosses in Chicago, $158,000.
What they've done is a lot worse
pension.
than a bank stick-up.
You know what? These two union lobbyists, with no prior teaching experience, mind you,
Yes.
were allowed to count their years as union employees towards state teacher pension once they served a single day of subbing in 2007. Stephen Preckwinkle, he's the political director for the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and fellow union lobbyist David Piccoli, I should know how to say that, I'm Italian, hey, what the heck, were the only people who took advantage of a small window opened by lawmakers a few months earlier. The legislation enabled union officials to get into the state teachers' pension fund and count their previous years as union employees after quickly obtaining teaching certificates and working in a classroom.
Now, let me say something about that. The teaching union, particularly the IEA, the Illinois Miseducation Association, those guys have got the biggest political power of anybody in the state. And because of all of the money they've poured into Madigan and the Democrats downstate, they could pass any law they want any day, and that's been true for a dozen years and more.
And more importantly, right now, Jack, they can stop any law from being
And they have
passed.
just demonstrated,
Pension reform.
yes, they could have
Pension
straightened
reform.
any of this out, and it's the proof is in what you just said, because what do? They just recently put a little law in so that these non-teachers for one day could become a teacher and get 2 pensions and raid the taxpayers one more time.
Exactly,
Madigan could have stopped that any day.
Yes.
Madigan put that damn thing through in order to please the union people. And there is immense significance in that single fact that the strong Mr. Madigan that runs a tight ship down there could do anything any day that he wants, because he can control it all. The Democrats have had us by the throat for years.
You know what,
and he went ahead and did this favor for the union people. It shows you Mr. Madigan isn't really strong unless he's got that stinking IEA union and the rest of the unions telling him what to do. Mr. Madigan, you're a puppet of the unions.
You know what, Jack, though? You know what? I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican issue. If you really look at this on its face, this is all Illinois taxpayers. I'm talking the folks like us, the taxpayers.
The ones that have perpetrated this thing are very definitely the Democrats.
Yes.
And Mr. Madigan is the leading guy, and he can't get off the hook that he has brought us to this tragic position.